Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining us today for our Insulation Intel webinar, Johns Manville's Canadian Building Insulation Products. My name is Kim Melton, and I'm going to be the moderator for today's presentation. Before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about the uniqueness of a JM product webinar. And the reason we put this together was that after doing a number of educational webinars, one of the questions that regularly comes up is, can you tell me more about your products? And so that's what we've done with this webinar. And today we're going to highlight and discuss almost entirely JM building products that are available to Canadian customers. And this is a great webinar for industry newcomers. It's also great for any customers who are looking for specific JM products training, or anybody who's trying to even just get a better idea of the types of building and insulation materials that are available to the Canadian market. So with that, we're going to get started with a couple more logistics to go over. We will be having a live Q&A at the end of the webinar, and you can submit questions via the Q&A feature on the right side of your screen. Now, if you don't see that there at the top right, what you can do is you can look down at the bottom right and you should see a little ellipsis. When you click on that ellipsis, it's going to open up a Q&A dialog box. You click on that and it'll open the Q&A feature that you can use to submit questions. Additionally, we are working remotely today, so if we run into any technical difficulties that are disruptive to the presentation, we'll stop the presentation for up to 5 minutes to see if we can address those on the back end. If we can't address those in 5 minutes, we'll cancel today's presentation and we'll either reschedule it or we'll send you a live recording depending on how far we are along in the information. Also, today's webinar is for educational purposes only, and it shouldn't be used as a substitute for professional engineering design, consultation, or documentation that's required by building codes, contracts, or applicable laws. So if you have any questions about any of this after the webinar, you can refer to specific application guidelines and instructions. Those are located in the product sections of our website. Additionally, we're going to follow today's webinar with a survey, and this is your opportunity to provide us with feedback on how we've done. You can actually use a survey to ask additional questions that you might have about anything that we discussed in the webinar, or you can even use it to suggest new topics for future webinars you'd like to see. But this survey is really part of how we deliver the JM experience to you, and if you look in the bottom left corner of your screen, you'll see the people, passion, perform, and protect, and those are the key pillars of the JM experience. But making sure that we deliver this for you is not just a one-way street. We need to make sure that we're hearing your feedback and evolving to better meet your needs. So if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, or even if you feel like we've missed the mark today, we would encourage you to fill out the survey, and we'll use your feedback to improve our webinars and provide the information that has the most value to you in future webinars. We are asked frequently whether or not we send out the presentation after its conclusion. We don't actually send out a copy of the presentation itself, but we will send out a recording, and this allows you to share it with your colleagues and also make sure that you have it within its full context. So joining me today are Eric Dake, Cassie Todtenhagen, and Mandy Schweitzer, and I'm going to hand it over to Eric Dake to kick us off for introductions.
Thank you, Kim. As she said, my name's Eric Dake. I'm a senior product manager here at Johns Manville, and I handle our blowing wool, mineral wool, and polyiso product lines.
My name is Cassie Todtenhagen, and I am the product manager for our spray foam product line.
And I am Mandy Schweitzer. I am the portfolio manager for fiberglass bats and rolls, and also work with Cassie on the spray foam product line. And I will actually be kicking us off for the meat of our presentation today. And any good presentation always starts off with the agenda. So we're going to start with a brief discussion around the considerations when selecting the right insulation for a product. And then we're going to move into discussing the specific insulation products JM offers. And that's going to include key properties, available sizes, and R values. And then finally, we're going to finish off introducing our remarkable Tech Connect team and the great resources they offer. Okay, so into insulation considerations. When looking for the right insulation for your project, the primary consideration is often the ability to control heat loss or gain. You know, insulation's primary role is really to help control temperature inside a building, and it really is the primary consideration for insulation. However, depending on the building or the region the building is in, you could be interested in other properties like controlling vapor transmission, precipitation, or airflow. So depending on the insulation, you can control these items without additional requirements like a vapor or air barrier on the insulation itself. Excuse me, spray foam or polyiso, for example, can be installed to act. And then also curtain wall barrier to protect against precipitation, which Eric will talk more about. And then two other items considered when determining the right insulation for a project are going to be sound control and fire resistance. So as we go through this presentation, you'll gain an understanding of how JM's insulation portfolio covers all these considerations. So we're going to start off with fiberglass, and specifically fiberglass bats and rolls. But before I get into the actual fiberglass product line, you'll see there are going to be several available options when it comes to R value. And R values are going to be designed to meet codes and how that code relates to the building envelope. And to be able to meet the different requirements, R value for insulation is going to be controlled by thickness and density. This chart really shows how R values are increased by either changing the thickness or the density, or potentially both. So most walls are going to be either 2x4 or 2x6 construction, and attics typically have kind of an unconstrained product thickness requirement. So this diagram shows how R values are designed to fit these different constructions. So starting at the changing thickness diagram on the left, you can see that the gray bars for density are basically held constant, and the R value changes due to the changing thickness. So you can see R12, typically used in a 2x4 construction, is 3.5 inches. And then when we go to R20, which is typically used in a 2x6 construction, you can see that product 6 inches, and so on. And then moving to the center group of charts, you can see that the blue bars for thickness are held constant at 3.5 inches, but the density is changing to provide different R values. So here we show R12, R13, and R14. And to get those different R values in this specific 2x4 construction type, we have to change the density of the product. So in the final example on the left, we have an example of how changing thickness and changing density will change the R value. So in short, this slide does a good job of highlighting how different R values are achieved. This chart is primarily applicable to Batt products, but of course the same methodology can apply to blow-in or loose fill insulation. All right, so now about the framing. Framing is typically built at 16 inches on center or 24 inches on center for walls, but wood framing and steel framing require different insulation product design widths. This diagram does a pretty good job of showing why. So with wood framing, the wood itself decreases the open cavity area to be filled with insulation. Therefore, Batt products are going to be manufactured to accommodate the appropriate 16 or 24 inch on center spacing to friction fit into that cavity. So most Batts are manufactured to 15-inch width or 16-inch on center. Manufactured to 15-inch width for 16-inch on center wood framing and 23-inch width for 24-inch on center wood framing. Steel framing is a little bit different though because it does have that C-channel in the stud that the insulation can fit into. So Batts used in steel framing are manufactured to fit the full width of the frame spacing, so 16 inches or 24 inches. So to quickly recap the last two slides, thickness and density are going to affect R value, and framing on center spacing affects the width of the product you're going to need. So the combination of all these items leads to a large list of product SKU options available, particularly for the insulation Batt products. So now I'm going to get into JM's product portfolio, and I'm going to start with unpaced fiberglass batts. Fiberglass batts are widely used in the insulation industry due to its ability to effectively and economically manage heat flow. It also provides great sound control, and what's not mentioned specifically in this slide is its fire resistance. Fiberglass is a non-combustible insulation, making it a great insulation product for fire resistance. And then talking about vapor retarders, in Canada, fiberglass batts are typically used with a separate vapor retarder, so you won't see pre-faced products in the availability list like you would see in the U.S. But we do have many R values ranging from an R8 to R50, and typical sizes we have available for wood studs are going to be 15-inch, 19-inch, 23-inch, and 24-inch. The 24-inch is really going to be in these attic applications for higher R values. Excuse me. And in the metal stud side, we have 16-inch and 24-inch. We do have a product availability list that has all the sizes we make per stock or limited stock. And I do want to point out that our data sheets don't necessarily list all the sizes we can make. It just lists a lot of the higher moving products. So if there isn't something on the data sheet that you see on our website that your project is needing, please reach out to a JM representative and we would likely be able to help you with your project. So our next fiberglass bat is Sound Shield. So Sound Shield is marketed specifically for sound control applications. And we do not label this product with an R value. But as mentioned in previous slides, fiberglass insulation does provide thermal and sound control, regardless of how it's marketed. This product is just specifically marketed for spaces in a building that are looking for sound control properties only, and that's really typically driven by a specification. And usually for interior wall applications where R value is not important, but sound control is, or even between floor applications. Sound Shield is available really in limited sizes and are typically thinner products like 1.5 inch shown here under wood stud and 2.75 inch for metal stud. But we also have 4 inch and 6 inch. So unfazed fiberglass and Sound Shields are designed for residential and commercial applications with smaller frame cavity widths. Our next two products are specifically for metal building applications. We'll start off with our PEBS blanket. PEBS is a wide roll filler blanket, specifically again for metal building construction. This product is really designed for applications where the product does not need to be laminated with a facer. We do have several R values we produce this blanket at, ranging from R10 to R30. And our standard width is going to be 48 inches, but we also have the ability to produce 60-inch and 72-inch wide rolls. And then you can see the different lengths here, and that's really determined by our manufacturing capabilities. And typically as the R value and thickness increase, the roll length is going to shorten. And then finally, on our last product for the fiberglass bats and rolls category is going to be what we call UMBI. This is also a metal building product, but is designed to withstand lamination from a facing. JM does not laminate metal building insulation, but the customers who purchase it from us do. So this product is designed to meet the project's specified R value after lamination. And with this product, we also have a robust range of R values and widths that we can produce, like the PEBS product. And in 2020, we did actually expand our offering of R values to include higher R value insulation, such as R20, R27, and R30. And again, we can also produce this in other widths, like the PEBS, such as 60-inch and 72-inch. And then finally, here is a summary of the fiberglass bats and rolls portfolio of products and the specifications they meet. These are typical tests determined by Canada ULC S702 and is the standard for fiberglass insulation. Our fire testing shows flame spread at less than 25 and smoke developed at less than 50. This is really the minimum requirement for S702, and our products do perform much better in this testing than the minimum requirement for S102, flame spread and smoke developed. JM fiberglass insulation is formaldehyde-free, and that's evident by our VOC emissions column towards the middle right, specifically with our Eco-Logo certification. And then finally, at the very end, as mentioned, our fiberglass insulation is non-combustible, like I said, detailed in the last column. So really, to close this section out with a summary, fiberglass insulation is effective at thermal control and sound control. It has great fire resistance, and it is formaldehyde-free. It is one of the most widely used thermal insulations due to its versatility and its economic viability. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Eric. Bear with me a second here.
Okay, I see it. Thank you, Mandy.
Great.
So
Thank you.
continuing with the fiberglass topic, I'm going to cover briefly our blown-in product line. So manufacturing-wise, this product is really made very similarly to the products you just saw in Mandy's presentation. The only difference is this product doesn't have the binder or the glue that holds it together in those nice batt forms. This is just loose fill. This gets packed into a bag quite tightly, and to install this, you put it into a machine. Those machines can range from the smaller machine that you would rent from your local Lowe's or Home Hardware up to something quite large that you can put multiple bags in, mounted on the back of a box truck, run 150 feet of hose from the truck up into the attic of a newly constructed home. And the latter, the large commercial jobs, are what we see a lot more volume. The commercial grade product that we have is our branded Climate Pro insulation, and our attic protector is what's more targeted for the DIY or those smaller machines that you would rent from those hardware stores that I mentioned earlier. This is a much faster and easier way to install insulation in your attic compared to using batt insulation. And I think you can visualize that, right? You have a person up in their attic manning the hose, simply blowing this in. You have another guy at the end of the hose in the machine putting product in there. It's a much faster way to do this than it is to use batts. This product does not settle. It fits around all those little nooks and crannies you would have in the attic. And I'm excited to announce at the bottom there our coverage. Recently, we redesigned our product to get even more coverage out of each bag of material. So that's been a good offering for Johns Manville here in recent months. A couple of advantages here. So the main competition for fiberglass in the loose fill arena is cellulose. But there are a couple of advantages here I'd like to highlight briefly about fiberglass. So it is a lightweight. Cellulose is installed at a much higher density. So Climate Pro is much lighter. Sometimes that is relevant when you get up to your higher R values. Sometimes, depending on what your ceiling is made of, that would need to be a concern. Coverage per bag is a big deal. Cellulose packs in a lot less than fiberglass does, or said another way, fiberglass expands a lot more out of the bag than cellulose does. So a standard job requires many more bags, a lot more trips, a lot more opening and putting in the machine as compared to fiberglass. Fiberglass is naturally non-combustible, whereas cellulose, being made of paper, is not. In order to become non-combustible, cellulose needs to be treated with a variety of different chemicals that they rely on to pass those various tests. Fiberglass does not have to undergo that. And then not on the slide, but worth mentioning, is settling. Climate Pro and Attic Protector do not settle. We've done some recent studies in our plant in Innisfail, Alberta, to show that. We vibrated various cavities for a long period of time. We were not able to get that material to settle, whereas cellulose typically has a tendency to settle over time, which would negatively impact your installed R value as that settles. Another neat offering that we have on the loose fill fiberglass side is our Spider product. So this is very identical to the Climate Pro or Attic Protector fibers, but the difference here is this is meant to be installed in an open cavity where you have a fine mist of water that assists in the interlocking fiber technology that we have in our Spider product. So that leaves you with this nice clean finish that you can see on the slide here. So this would be your new construction. This would be an alternative to doing a batt installation or an alternative to a net and blow with our Climate Pro. This just goes into that open cavity. You scrub off any excess, vacuum the excess back into the machine, and you get a very, very nice finished product. And you can see some of the coverage information on the slide here as well. So that's it from the fiberglass side of things. So we're going to move into another product that Johns Manville manufactures, which is mineral wool. So mineral wool, instead of fiberglass, which is melted glass, obviously, mineral wool is melted rock. We do this in Phoenix City, Alabama. That is currently our only manufacturing facility in North America, but we do service Canada from that facility. Currently, primarily Eastern Canada, but there could always be opportunities for the West as well, depending on the situation. You can see on the slide here some of the advantages here. I typically boil this down to mineral wool really equals fire performance. If mineral wool typically costs about 50% more than fiberglass does when it is installed. So why would somebody spend that premium? It's really about fire performance. Then that typically leads to why this is so popular in commercial applications as opposed to residential applications, which is where you have multi-story construction, many inhabited floors, large buildings where fire performance is critical. And that's really where mineral wool excels. It has a much higher melting point, as you can see on the screen, much higher than fiberglass does. So it's really about preventing the spread of fire from room to room and from floor to floor in case there was a fire event. A lot of our competition who do mineral wool only have done historically a very good job of promoting the sound performance characteristics of mineral wool. And mineral wool is a fantastic sound attenuation product. It does a very good job, but the reality is when fiberglass and mineral wool are installed to the same density in a similar type of wall, they perform the same. The human ear cannot detect the difference. So while there is the notion out there that mineral wool is a superior sound performing product, in our experience, really fiberglass and mineral wool perform the same. So that leaves you really with the main advantage of mineral wool is where fire performance is required. As I mentioned, commercial is really the space where mineral wool excels, so I'll cover a few of our commercial focused products here. Our SAFB, or our Sound Attenuation Fire Batt, is our most popular product in the mineral wool product line. This would go in commercial construction, in between your interior partition walls, as well as in the spaces between the ceilings and floors. Again, this is meant to aid in sound transmission, but also prevent that fire spread. As you can see, I don't need to read those sizes to you, but you can see on the screen for all of these products displayed what kind of options there are, and there's always special sizes available if it makes sense upon request. A big advantage for our SAFB material to the competition is our compression packaging. So we get a lot more material on a truckload of our SAFB SKUs than our competition does. This is a big benefit all through the supply chain. It helps us take up less space in our warehouse, helps you, the customer, use less space in your warehouse. It's fewer bags on the job site, fewer trips to a job site, and less waste with poly on the job site. So advancing on to the next one, you get an idea of some of the degree of that advantage to various SKUs. This is a big deal, and we've had a lot of success with this strategy, and with having this compression packaging has really helped our customers a great deal. Moving on to some of our more rigid board products, or products that are typically installed on the exterior of the building. We'll start with our JM Cladstone product. This is meant to be installed in cavity wall and rain screen applications. So this is on the outside of your building, in between that exterior sheathing and the exterior cladding. This is meant to be exposed to a little bit of moisture, so it's meant to repel that moisture, and any moisture that it may take on, it's designed to dry out quite quickly. And you can see again our various thicknesses and widths. New in 2020, we launched a couple of different densities. So our standard density is the 4.5. The Cladstone 45 is our highest moving product, and somewhat obviously the cheapest, which is maybe why it's the most popular. But there's also a need, depending on certain applications, for more dense, rigid material. So that's caused us to launch the Cladstone 80 and the Cladstone 110 product lines as well. A very similar product, I would say, to Cladstone is our curtain wall. This can be faced with a foil facer, as you see image there, or it can just be unfaced as well. This goes in your curtain wall spandrel system. So this is typically a little bit more custom. This is where architects can sometimes get creative, creating some odd size exterior panels. And this is where that material would go, in those glass panel systems that you see in high-rise construction throughout, say, Toronto or downtown Calgary kind of thing. And again, our sizes are listed here on the page. And a new entrant, I won't spend a lot of time here. This is our Minwool window wall product. This is for window wall systems. I won't go into what that exactly is on this call here, but just want to make you guys aware if you run into window wall applications, we do have an offering to meet that need as well. And lastly, on the commercial line is our Minwool safing material. So I'll direct you to the image on the right. The yellow is our safing. So this will arrive to a customer in a larger batt, and it's meant to be cut into strips by the contractor on site typically. That semicircle in that image is the cement slab floor most typically, and the portion of that image to the left is your exterior either curtain wall or cladding system. So the safing is meant to be stuffed in those little gaps in between the floor and the exterior cladding. Again, a reoccurring theme here with fire to help prevent the spread of flame from floor to floor. You would stuff this around the perimeter of the building. So a very popular product. It doesn't get a lot of volume because of the nature. It gets cut into those small strips, but most, if not all, larger commercial jobs will require some form of safing. And then I won't spend any time on this, but just know you can go to jm.com and get all of our specification compliance. We also have a really neat chart on there that compares what our brand name is to the competition's brand name. So you can easily compare what the right product is for your job. But for the purposes of this presentation, I will just glaze over the specification charts. Just know all the information you have available to you on jm.com or reach out to your local rep. I'll touch on some residential products. Again, like I said, commercial makes up a large chunk of our mineral wool business, but there is some mineral wool being used in residential applications as well. Most notably, that'd be our temp control product line. This is where our value would matter. So we offer an R14, an R22, and an R28. And then somewhat obviously, this would be meant to be installed in your exterior walls of a single-family home. And sound and fire block is the residential version of our SAFB, if you will, meant to be put in between floors and ceilings and in between interior partition walls, where you're not looking for an R-value rated product, you're just looking for that sound and fire performance. That would be our sound and fire block. And you can see the widths being available, most notably in those residential widths, those wood stud widths. And again, specification compliance, I would direct you to jm.com for more information there. So that wraps up the mineral wool, or the fibrous, I guess, if you will, products that Johns Manville offers. And I'll get into our board insulation on the Polyiso side. So Polyiso is our foam board insulation, typically a 4x8 sheet of material. As you can see on the slide here, performs better than your typical XPS or EPS product. So when you're talking about foam board insulation, Polyiso is going to be your most thermally efficient. Another nice advantage, I'll get into it on a few other slides here, is that it can act as an air and weather barrier all in one. A few more advantages here: non-corrosive, lightweight, but it provides continuous insulation that can combat thermal bridging. We don't have time to get into the concept of continuous insulation or thermal bridging in any detail here. But I would direct you to our website, jm.com. We have a previously done webinar on continuous insulation that discusses the purpose of that and how it combats thermal bridging. Just put very briefly here, thermal bridging is when heat or cool transfers through the stud medium, so wood or steel stud. If you envision a standard wall construction, a lot of that wall is going to be made up of stud material. That's been historically areas of the wall that are not insulated at all. So continuous insulation is basically wrapping a blanket around your house of board material that covers up those studs, and it eliminates that thermal bridging. But again, I would encourage you to go to jm.com and look at that webinar if you're curious about the details of that. So we have a continuous insulation wall offering. So this is actually a patented wall system that's better demonstrated on the next slide here. So JM has a patented system that goes with most cavity insulations that you see in the yellow on the image here. It's kind of, the yellow is the inside of the building, and it works out to the exterior cladding, which in this case is masonry. So you have a couple of different layers there. You have your exterior sheathing. And you can see the JM AP foil insulation board layer there, and you can see those blue strips and those little blue squares on that insulation. So that represents using tape to seal your seams and all of your penetrations with the fasteners. When you do that, the JM polyiso insulation acts as both an air and weather barrier all in one, which allows you to eliminate Tyvek is a typical brand of that barrier that is usually used in construction. You can eliminate that as long as you seal those seams and penetrations on your AP foil. So a big cost savings there, both on the material and the labor side. So if you folks haven't explored that or used that, I would encourage you to look into that. AP foil is our most common offering on the polyiso board line. This is your standard foil facing you see on the image there on the right. Typically, like I said, 4x8 pieces, but we have a little bit of flexibility to get up to 10-foot lengths, and then various thicknesses up to 4.5 inches thick. And lastly, another new offering, just a few months old here, would be our AP breathing sheathing. Really the same material as the AP foil, except this has a coated glass facer that is vapor permeable. So for you folks specifically in Canada, typically are putting poly on the inside of your buildings. After you put the cavity insulation in, there's usually a layer of poly to help manage vapor. But if there's a risk there if you use AP foil and seal all those seams and penetrations, you've kind of created a sandwich where there's nowhere for that vapor to go, which obviously creates a big problem in the building science world. So we're excited to offer this AP breathing sheathing product that helps eliminate that problem. So if you have poly on the inside of your building, you can now purchase a Johns Manville polyiso board product that will allow that cavity to breathe and keep you away from those mold problems you're trying to avoid with that moisture. So again, this is new, a couple of months old. If you have any interest in that, I would encourage you to reach out to your local distributor, contractor, territory manager, whatever's appropriate for you. And again, specification compliance, we have all the appropriate things that you would need for most jobs. So again, a good resource is jm.com if you need more information on that. So certainly I'll be available for questions at the end, but with that, I will turn it over to Cassie so she can tell you a little bit more about spray foam.
Thank you, Eric.
I think you
Next,
are good.
I'm going to... Perfect. Thank you very much. Next, I'm going to talk about our spray foam product offering. In Canada, we offer a 2-pound closed cell spray foam product. There are many benefits of using spray foam to meet your insulation needs. A few of those benefits are the highest R value per inch of any insulation product, which provides superior thermal energy efficiency in your building. Spray foam can be applied directly to the roof deck and other hard-to-reach attic areas in order to fully insulate your building. Additionally, because spray foam starts as a liquid and expands to over 25 times its original volume, it fills every nook and cranny on the substrate. Additionally, this provides an air and vapor barrier when the product is applied correctly, which will reduce the need for multiple materials in a system in order to achieve that air and vapor barrier performance. There are many advantages to having an air barrier in your home. With an air barrier in place, there is less opportunity for pollen, dust, some insects, and other external allergens to enter the building, which makes for a more comfortable indoor experience. Additionally, with an air barrier in place, the conditioned air will remain inside of the building, which reduces the energy required to heat or cool fresh air to bring into the living space. This energy reduction leads to lower energy bills. Finally, Johns Manville Corbond is a great product that delivers superior performance, yield, and sprayability, making it a great product both to install and to work with. The Corbond closed cell product is a medium density spray foam insulation that uses a chemical blowing agent to form the finished foam. There have been changes in the chemical blowing agent in the industry between 2020 and 2021, and JM's product offering will meet all of these changing regulations with that physical blowing agent. The blowing agent in the foam helps create the cell structure of the product and provides some of the high R value benefits, as it has a higher R value than air. While closed cell foam has excellent thermal performance and air sealing properties, it does not have the sound dampening benefits like some of other Johns Manville's products do, such as fiberglass and mineral wool. In order to get the air barrier performance, the product needs to be installed to 1 inch thick, and for a vapor barrier, the product must be installed to at least 1.5 inches thick. After the foam cures, it becomes a very rigid plastic, which can add to the structural integrity of a building. Spray foam can be used in all areas of residential applications, directly applied to the wall or attic roof. It is important to keep in mind that in order to meet the requirements of the National Building Code of Canada, closed-cell spray foam cannot be installed greater than 2 inches thick in a single pass in residential applications. Spray foam is an excellent choice of insulation when an air or vapor barrier is required. The insulation includes many hard-to-reach or hard-to-insulate areas, and when high thermal performance is required, spray foam is installed by certified contractors as the installation of the product has a major impact on the long-term performance. Additionally, spray foam is able to meet the code requirements of a 15-minute thermal barrier for occupied attics and crawl spaces, in addition to thermal barrier between occupied spaces, with an approved 15-minute thermal barrier applied on top of the spray foam. It is important to check the area of installation for the spray foam and determine where the approved thermal barriers are required. It could be a gypsum wall or subfloor in some applications, and in attic applications, there is a sprayable thermal barrier that can go on top of the spray foam. The next product that I'd like to highlight is our GoBoard product portfolio. GoBoard LT is the latest ultralight, waterproof, and durable tile backer board. It is engineered for durability, yet it is up to 85% lighter than cement boards, making it easy for crews to move the material onto a job site. Additionally, GoBoard LT is easier to handle and can be cut right where it is installed with a basic utility knife without crumbling or deteriorating. The utility knife makes it easy to score and snap the product for any sized application. And best of all, it has waterproofing already built into the product, which reduces installation time and eliminates extra steps since only board joints and fastener locations need to be sealed. This technology is exclusive to JM. Highlighting the GoBoard in a unique way is we now have a packet of GoBoard shower systems. The GoBoard Point Drain Shower System is a time-saving, versatile system that offers easy-to-do on-site shower pan customization. The shower system accommodates all types of shower areas and offset drain locations. The GoBoard Point Drain Shower System is ultra-lightweight and easy to install with the same lightweight and handling properties of GoBoard LT. It has all of the requirements inside the box, such as the drain, the GoBoard, and the sealant that is required to create your own custom shower pan. Finally, I want to highlight on our Tech Connect resources that are available to JM customers 24/7, 365 days a year. Our Tech Connect team provides free technical support that you may need on any of our products or installations. This support is available in many forms: online, on-call, and on-site support to provide guidance to you and your customers. Our team is the experts on compliance assistance, thermal and acoustical and fire performance guidance, lead and energy efficiency courses, installation recommendations, health and safety information, technical product assistance, equipment troubleshooting, specifically for blowing wool and spray foam, and building science expertise on building envelope questions and different product solutions. Jeff Brody is our field tech representative for Canada, but we have a full team to support and learn best practices from each other that we share all across North America. Please visit our Tech Connect website to access all of our past webinars and other technical resources if you have any questions. Additionally, Jeff will be happy to take your call at any time to answer product questions and installation questions you have in the field. We have and next I'll pass it off to Kim to talk through what we have on the source.
Awesome. Thank you, Cassie. So what Cassie has just highlighted here is we have additional resources that I'm going to dive into. And the first one I want to talk about is the source. And the source is basically an online repository where we keep all of our educational information. So this includes all of our recorded webinars, and today's webinar will be posted on there live once we get it ready for online viewing. This also includes links to our latest blogs, descriptions and links to each of our products, critical documentation information for you, online tools, and available training. And you should have just received in your chat a link to the building installation online source, so you can access that anytime at your leisure. You can also get to it directly from the building installation homepage on our website. The next tool I want to talk to you about is our SmartBinder, and this is a free app for Androids or smartphones, and basically you can download it and have immediate access to each of our documents for like our data sheets, our safety data sheets, just the pertinent information that you want to have for product specification right at your fingertips. This is a really handy tool, and you can find it in the Apple App Store or the Android App Store. And as Cassie already mentioned, we have JM Tech Connect. Now, JM Tech Connect is available. This is a phone number. We'll put it up here again at the end of the presentation as well. But what Tech Connect is an online resource of basically our technical experts, and they are available online, on call, and on site, as it says right there in the logo. And you can access them directly through 1-800-654-3103. And finally, we have a certificate of completion available. This will be sent to your inbox by next Wednesday, and you should have it before the holidays, before we're all leaving for the holidays. You can submit this for 1 professional development hour to your governing bodies for additional credits, learning credits. So with that, we're going to dive into some questions. First, we're going to start with some questions that we had pre-submitted before the webinar, and then any questions we have that have been submitted during the webinar. So the first question, I'm going to go ahead and pass this one off to Eric. And Eric, I did want to introduce Jeff Brody is also on our call. He is one of our Tech Connect specialists for any questions that are maybe a little not for our product management team. So anyway, Eric, the first question is for you, and that is, what do I need in order to be a spider insulation installer?
Oh, thanks, Kim. So it's really pretty simple. So perhaps in your head, you're maybe thinking it's something along the lines of spray foam, where there's various certifications and things like that. That spider is much more simple than that. So as long as you have the spider material, all you need is a blowing wool machine. You need the appropriate snout for the end of your hose. So think it's more of a narrow rectangular shaped snout, if you will. Think of the maybe various attachments that would go on your vacuum cleaner at home. So that helps provide a better stream of material to more easily fill in those cavities like I showed in that image on my slide. And then that special nozzle also has the output nozzle for the fine mist of water that goes on the material as well. In addition to that, you would need the water pump to provide that water to the installation tip. And then, considering this is a Canadian-focused product discussion, a lot of folks would probably benefit from having a heated cart to store that water hose. If you're going to be trying to install this at some lower temperatures, there's also options for a heated delivery system as well. And then I guess lastly, you would want the scrubber that would go. It's a wider scrubber that rotates, that covers the studs to scrub off any excess. So you go to the top of the studs, you would drag that scrubber down the outside of the studs. It would get rid of all your excess. You would vacuum that up, which you would also need a vacuum that would be recirculating that material back into your hopper so that you're not wasting material. So you would want the special snout. You would want a heated hose. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be heated, but I would recommend that for most cases, with the water pump mechanism, and then the vacuum system to get that material back into your hopper. And then that's all assuming you already have a blowing wool machine. I think that about covers it. I mean, Jeff's on here. He can reiterate if I missed anything, but I think that does it.
Jeff, is there anything you'd like to add?
That's pretty much it. There is a density tool that you can use to judge the density to make sure that it's installed properly, or so that you get the proper R values out of everything. And then we're not just going to sell it to you and let you walk away. I would be able to come out on site depending on where you're at and what's going on with all the COVID restrictions right now. So kind of spend a day with you, make sure you're comfortable with it, make sure you know how to use everything properly for it. So you get a little bit of training on there, but it's not like you need an actual certification to be able to do it or anything at all like that.
All right, excellent. Thank you both. Eric, the next question is also for you, and that is, do you have a rigid mineral fiber insulation?
We do. It depends on what you mean by rigid. That's sometimes in the eye of the beholder, but I would say our Cladstone, our curtain wall products would fit into that categorization.
All right, thank you. Cassie, the next question is for you, and that is, will the JM Spray Foam product offering meet all new environmental requirements for 2021? And Cassie, you may be muted. We can't hear you yet.
I was muted. Thank you, Kim. Yes, all of the closed cell spray foam products will meet the environmental regulations that are changing at the end of this year into 2021. Those are specifically related to the blowing agent, and we will make sure that all products available in Canada meet those regulations.
Excellent. Thank you. Mandy, the next question is for you, and that is the PEBS blanket available in Canada, specifically at the Innisfail plant?
Yep, thanks, Kim. Kind of a short answer is, due to industry demand and constraints, we currently have limited JM dealers. But I would say if you are a JM dealer and are interested in this product, you can reach out to your JM sales representative to discuss further. And if you need help getting in touch with your JM sales representative, I can certainly help with that as well.
All right, thank you. Mandy, the next question is also for you, and that is, are PEBS and UMBI distributed through specific dealers only, or would JM allow any dealer to have access?
Again, I would say reach out to your JM sales representative to discuss further. We can certainly just talk through that. And I mean, at this time, we don't necessarily have specific JM dealers, but we can talk through that more.
All right. Thank you very much. Eric, this question came through when you were talking about AP foil, so I suspect it is for you, and that is the foil-faced AP foil more expensive?
I saw that question as well, Kim. I don't know if that was necessarily AP foil is only in the foil, so that's the only option. Perhaps that question was more about the foil facing on our curtain wall potentially, and in that case, it certainly would be more expensive to add that layer. And I don't think there's much foil-faced fiberglass insulation happening in Canada, but anytime you apply that foil facer to one of our products, the cost certainly does go up, yes.
All right, thank you very much. We had a couple questions come through about breathing sheathing, and instead of addressing those breathing sheathing, we're actually going to send you a link directly to the data sheet so that you can get all the details for the product right offhand, and that should have come through just now in the chat. So the next question, Cassie, this one was for you, and it came in during this slide with the thermal barrier, and that is, can you please explain more about the 15-minute thermal barrier reference in the spray foam section?
I'm going to defer to Jeff Brody to talk through that slide a little bit more.
No problem. When it comes to the 15-minute thermal barrier, the Canadian code says that any spray foam that has a heat-emitting source in the room has to have a 15-minute fire barrier. Typically, that's going to be drywall for the most part, but if you're not planning on drywalling the room, there are fireproofing paints, thermal barrier paints, that you can apply to everything, and that's what this is probably referring to in your attic, because you're probably not going to cover it all with your drywall. You're going to put on this thermal barrier paint to cover it up to give it that 15-minute fire barrier so that it meets code. Does that answer the question?
I believe so. Thank you very much. Cassie, this next question is about GoBoard. We may have to circle back on this one because we do not have the GoBoard product manager on the call today, but I'll go ahead and pose it out to you. The first one is, for Go board, what are the screw fastening requirements? Typically for DIN shield or diamond board tile backer board, it would be 6-inch screws on center. Do you know the answer to that question, Cassie?
I do not, and I also saw the later question about where it's available, and I would defer to the sales team or the Go board product manager for that question.
Okay, we'll take a note and follow up with that person individually. Thank you. The next question we have is, and this one is going to be for, actually, I'll pose it to the whole group and you guys can all weigh in. Do you have any products that are rated for below grade use that deter bug and critter infestation? That sounds like it might be a no.
I've never thought a bit about to combat pests. AP foil can be used below grade, but I don't know of its impact on little critters, I guess. Just intuitively thinking, I would imagine it would assist in that, but I don't have any direct information to really back that up, honestly.
All right. The next question we have, Mandy, we'll start with you, and that is there a difference between the acoustic properties between regular fiberglass bats versus sound bats versus mineral wool?
Typically, no. Fiberglass bats, whether it's unfaced fiberglass or sound shield, they're really the same product. The sound shield, like I mentioned, is just specifically marketed and packaged for sound control applications. And high level, fiberglass and mineral wool have very similar STC ratings. There's not a major difference between them, particular to from an audible standpoint. An STC rating above 50 typically means that the sound is going to be inaudible. And most, or I shouldn't say most, fiberglass and mineral wool have STCs above 50.
All right, thank you. Cassie, the next question is for you, and this might take a little more explanation on your part about how spray foam works, but the question is, what are pack sizes for spray foam?
So for our spray foam products, it is sold into a set form, and each portion of the set is a 500-gallon drum. We require professional installation of our spray foam product. I know there are some products on the market that are more the size of a propane tank, and they're typically referred to as a frost pack. JM does not offer that type of product. Our product is sold to contractors who have specialized equipment that make sure the material is installed in the proper ratio in the building of your home. So it comes in 2 500-pound drum barrel sets.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Well, that wraps up most of our questions. There were a couple questions we need to take offline. They were pertaining to cost or specifically like the Go board system. So if we didn't answer your question today, we will follow up with you directly via email. Otherwise, you should look in your inbox next week for the certificate of completion. And we hope you found this webinar helpful. It will be recorded and we'll send you an email once it's live online for you to review or share with your colleagues. Otherwise, have a safe and healthy holiday season, and we will see you all in 2021.